because emotionally mature people have developed emotional wellness so they can live maturely in love in their marriage, they've also learned to regulate this lower order brain, what is the survival brain, which is where the fight, flight, and freeze response comes from. It's that part of our brain that's all about survival. It's purely reactive. And it's all, whenever it perceives a threat at 1/2 thousandths of a second, it is triggered, and you get epinephrine, norepinephrine, and you get adrenaline, and it's coursing through your body, and you're in a reaction. All right. You're reacting to a threat. When that happens, though, the higher order thinking brain right up here gets hijacked. Why? Well, you're not meant to think about that 18-wheeler coming across the interstate at you at 80 miles an hour. You're only meant to react to it. So what this brain does, it hijacks the thinking brain so you can react and stay alive. Got it? Now, everyone is going to get triggered. That's just a part of life. All right. Being triggered emotionally is a part of life. However, here's what mature people know, is that once I am triggered, and you can feel the trigger, you can feel it when it happens, you get a 6-second window, folks, a 6-second window. You got about 6 seconds to step into that trigger and regulate it. After about that 6-second window, you're flooded with all those neurochemicals. You're just going to be doing whatever you do, fight, flight, or freeze, and all that's destructive. It doesn't communicate well. It's all about protecting oneself. Mature people have the ability to step into that 6-second window before they react. In other words, whenever you're triggered, you have a reaction. It's a reactive behavior. But mature people, because they're aware of that feeling of when they're triggered, what I do, I take a deep breath, because that's how you regulate it. You can go from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic. Sympathetic is the trigger reaction. You want to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, because whenever the sympathetic nervous system is activated, your heart's racing. Why? Fight, flight, or freeze. It's about survival. So your heart starts racing. One way you can regulate your heart is take a deep breath. Hold it and let it out. And as I begin to take a deep breath, I'm regulating my heart rate. And as I begin to slow my heart rate down, I can activate the higher order brain and make healthier, wise decisions about what I'm going to do. You see, there's a difference between reacting and responding. Most people are reacting to situations. You have no self-control. You've actually given up your control to the lower order reptilian brain down here, this animal brain. But to respond to something means you're thoughtful. It means you've moved to compassion. Did you get that? We know through research that mature people, emotionally mature adults in conflict, move to compassion to deal with conflict. And because they move to compassion to deal with conflict, they're cooperative. Immature adults, emotional infants, children and adolescents, these emotional adults stay in this fight, flight, or freeze response, which is all about me and my protection. And so they hurt people along the way. They don't deal with conflict, they avoid conflict. But none of it builds in us. And it's all immature. We're operating from a reactive brain. Mature people access the higher order brain, think about what they're feeling back here, and make decisions. How they want to be, how they want to come across. The reason you step into that 6-second window and deal with conflict in a mature way is because you don't want to be immature. You want to be healthy. You want to be mature. You don't want to deal with conflict and look foolish. Why? Because it's not not the person you want to be. I remember someone asked me once, well, some people treat you in such a way where they're so grossly disrespectful. Well, yeah. Don't you think that they deserve something back? No. And the reason, I told this person, the reason you always treat people with goodwill and respect, even when they don't deserve it, has nothing to do with them. The reason you treat people with goodwill and respect has to do with you. Who do you want to be? How do you want to be as a way of being? That's why you treat people with goodwill and respect. It's because I declared that's not who I want to be. Emotional wellness in marriage, these folks have the trait of being able to step into that 6-second gap, take that deep breath, regulate themselves, and treat you with goodwill and respect. In other words, they respond to you. They're not reacting to you. It's a very powerful way to live life, and a much more meaningful way to live life as well. In emotional wellness in marriage, that the traits of emotionally healthy people in their marriage is these folks are teachable. In the personal development field, there's a saying, it goes like this: when a student is ready, a teacher will appear. You see, no teacher is going to invest in someone who's not teachable. Why? Because it's a waste of time and energy. I was sharing with someone today in my counseling session. This person was talking to me, and I said to him, I said, you understand something? I said, you need to know one thing about me. If you're not teachable, if you're not willing to hear me out, if you're telling me that I'm wrong and you're right, then there's no reason for us to meet. There's no reason you to speak and waste your money. And I'm not wasting my time because I don't talk to people who aren't teachable. They're not ready yet. Humility is essential to being teachable. Think of it this way. You didn't learn in school by talking. You learn by listening. And to listen means you're learning. You're considering the possibility. Maybe that person sees things that you don't see because we all have our blind spots. There's things we don't know that we don't know. Luella saw things in me that I didn't see in me. I didn't know I was manipulative, but she knew. I just didn't know. Was I teachable to consider the possibility that I might be? And as I moved to humility in my mid-20s, kind of walked away a lot of my brokenness, and I became teachable. I had a man in my life who's still in my life, Marshall. Marshall would tell me the hard things about myself that I didn't want to hear, but I would listen to him. Why? Because I knew he loved me enough and cared about me enough. When he shared those things, he did it out of a posture of love, though they did sting, and they were still true. You see, you can never become a healthy, mature adult if you're not willing to be teachable. And I always told my kids when they were younger, you always know teachable people. Teachable people are mature. That's how you know. Mature people are teachable. Teachable people are mature. And if you want to create a really healthy marriage, stay teachable. I'm learning things about my wife still after 37 years of marriage. She's learning things about me. She sees things that I don't see. Am I willing to listen at least? Going back to one of the earlier traits, develop good listening skills. And so if you really want a healthy, mature, loving marriage, emotionally healthy, then these folks become teachable. That means they're open. Open to what? Open to input. They're open to advice. And they don't stop reading and developing themselves. They read and develop themselves. They learn. They may read books on marriage or healthy relationships or communication. One of the things I learned from my brother Don, who's a very mature man, and I kind of followed suit with him many years ago, and I developed what he called Mark's University. And basically, for many, many years, rather than listening to music in my car when I was driving, I would listen to audiobooks, personal development books, a lot of Jim Rohn. All right. Love the work by Jim Rohn and other people, learning about how to live out my life in a spiritual way that was loving and mature. I still listen to books to this day, constantly developing my mind and gaining awareness of myself and being teachable. Why? Because I wanted to be a mature adult. And if I get to the place where I stop learning, that's not a good place to be. And so I'm constantly learning and growing. This next one, I believe to be fundamental as well. Mature adults, emotionally healthy marriages. The adults have learned to live their life based on what we call the 4 protectors of us. This is central to the relate well process. They choose to live as a way of being. They want to be people who treat people with goodwill. They want to be respectful. They want to be caring. They have empathy. And they do that because they choose to live a life of humility. So here's what we call the 4 protectors in us: goodwill, respect, humility, and empathy. These 4 words didn't come to me in academics. The 4 protectors, these 4 words, actually emerged from me in my own mind over time as I was beginning to better myself, grow, heal, mature. These 4 words kept emerging in my soul, in my mind, to become these things. They were the things I measured myself by. And I would always ask myself, is what I'm doing right now with Luella, is it goodwill? Is what I'm doing right now, is it respectful? Is what I'm doing right now caring? Is it with empathy? And am I being humble? If you treat people with ill will, disrespect, and you're not caring, you lack empathy. Guaranteed you're in pride, because pride will undo those 3. But to treat people with goodwill and respect and empathy and humility is the essence of love, because love never treats people with ill will. Love is never disrespectful. Love is always caring. And to love that way, you've got to live a life of humility. And here's what we know. To live a life of humility is a very powerful way to live life. Only mature people can actually live that way. Immature people cannot. That's a piece of the puzzle there. It kind of wrapping this up. How are you living life? Do you treat people with goodwill? Do you treat your partner with goodwill? Are you respectful? Do you send the message, I care or I don't care? If you continue to send the message in your relationships that I don't care, you feel free to do that. But you understand, if you send the message enough that I don't care, and that person figures out they really don't care, that you really don't care, you put them in a position to have to make decisions they don't want to make. And sadly, the decision most people are making is fine. You don't care? Then I'm out of here. If you treat people on a regular basis with ill will and disrespect, you understand you're actually sowing discord in your marriage. And if you want to sow discord in your marriage, it's okay, but you will reap what you sow. In the personal development field, it's called the law of attraction. Angry people attract angry people. Fear attracts fear. Love attracts love. Goodwill attracts goodwill. Because most people, because they're immature, are sowing discord over time. And they wonder why they get discord back. It's because you're sowing discord. What if we chose to live our lives in such a way that no matter what I do, I treat you with goodwill, I'm respectful, I don't control, manipulate you, because disrespectful to do that. To call people names and put them down and insult them, that's disrespectful, and there's no goodwill in it. I'm caring, empathy. I have empathy for you. I can step into your world and feel what you feel. And when you share a thought or feeling with me, I can care about how you think and feel. I may not agree, but I can be caring. Why? Because I've decided to become a man of humility. You've decided to become a woman of humility. And we know that people who walk a life of humility are very powerful people. Weak people are prideful. Powerful people are humble. If you study anything that's going on at the global level in terms of leadership development, two words keep emerging. You want to be a great leader in the future, better learn to become humble, and you better develop empathy. Two of the four words of our four protectors of an us. So if you choose to live a life of goodwill, respect, humility, and empathy, I promise you, in all your dealings, you'll always protect your marriage. You'll always protect us. And when us wins, you both win. When us loses, you both lose. So in conclusion, here are the traits we were talking about. Number one, healthy, mature people use their spouse as a reflection of themselves. Number two, develop listening skills. Healthy, mature listening skills. Number three, develop within yourself the ability to see the world, to see what's going on, to see what happens through your partner's perspective. Their perspective is right to some degree, just as much as yours is right to some degree. Number four, develop self-awareness and self-control. Number five, you live for us. You don't live for yourself. Marriage is giving up the I for the we. If you want to be an I, stay single. Marriage is about living for us. Number six, there is a 6-second pause once you're emotionally triggered. Mature people step into that 6-second gap. They pause themselves, take a deep breath. They get emotionally regulate, and they respond rather than react. Number seven, these people are teachable because they know they don't know everything, and they understand the better way to grow and mature in life is to be teachable. They're learning. And lastly, number eight, live a life of what we call the four protectors, a life of goodwill, respect, empathy, and humility.